He thought no one was watching. That was the thing. That was the detail that made everything else matter. That made the cameras scramble and the broadcasters pause mid-sentence and the entire stadium shift its attention from the field to the dugout steps where something was happening that nobody had planned for and nobody had scripted and nobody could quite believe they were witnessing in real time. Because the moments that reveal who someone truly is never happen on the big stage. They never happen when the lights are brightest and the crowd is loudest and everyone is paying attention. They happen in the margins. In the quiet spaces between the action. In the 30 seconds when a person believes the world has looked away and lets their guard down completely. Shohei Ohtani thought no one was watching. He was wrong. And what the cameras caught in that unguarded moment, what the opposing manager saw from across the field, what traveled from the Dodgers' dugout steps all the way to the hearts of players across the entire league, was something that no highlight reel could have manufactured and no marketing team could have designed. It was just Shohei Ohtani being exactly who he is when nobody is supposed to be looking. And it changed everything about how this story was told. The game had reached that particular point in the middle innings where the crowd settles into a rhythm and the television cameras find their routine angles and the action on the field becomes the only thing anyone is supposed to be watching. Both teams were locked in the kind of competitive back and forth that makes division series matter. Every pitch carrying weight. Every at-bat a small negotiation between preparation and instinct. The Diamondbacks were in the field. The Dodgers were in the dugout waiting their turn. And somewhere in the organized routine of a Major League Baseball bench, between the pitchers tracking counts and the position players studying tendencies and the coaches making quiet adjustments, Shohei Ohtani found a moment. A small one. Barely noticeable. The kind of moment that disappears instantly in the larger flow of a game. He was sitting near the edge of the dugout steps. Not in the center of the bench activity. Not surrounded by teammates in conversation. Just slightly apart, in that particular way that someone sits when they are watching something that has captured their complete attention. And what had captured his attention was a young ball boy. Maybe 12 years old. Stationed near the corner of the dugout, doing the invisible work that ball boys do. Retrieving foul balls. Keeping equipment organized. Trying very hard to look professional while standing 10 feet from the greatest baseball player on the planet. The boy didn't know Ohtani was watching him. Ohtani didn't know anyone was watching him watch the boy. And then something happened that nobody in that dugout expected. The ball boy fumbled. It was a small fumble. The kind of minor mistake that happens 100 times in a baseball game and is noticed by nobody. A ball slipped from his hands. Bounced awkwardly. He scrambled to recover it with the particular embarrassment of someone very young trying very hard to be competent in an important environment. His face flushed. He looked around instinctively to see if anyone had noticed. And he found himself looking directly at Shohei Ohtani. Who was smiling. Not the polished, professional smile of a superstar acknowledging a fan. Not the practiced warmth of a celebrity performing approachability. Just a genuine, unguarded, completely human smile from one person to another. The kind of smile that says, I saw that. It's okay. It happens to everyone. Ohtani held the boy's gaze for a moment. Then he nodded slowly. A small nod. Barely perceptible. But it contained everything. It contained, you're doing fine. Don't worry. Keep going. The boy's shoulders dropped from around his ears. The tension in his face released. He smiled back, small and grateful, and returned to his position. And Ohtani turned back to watching the game. The whole exchange lasted maybe 15 seconds. But a camera operator, panning from the field to the dugout during a pitching change, had caught every frame of it. And by the time the inning ended, people were already talking. Torey Lovullo saw it from across the field. Not on a monitor. Not in a replay. In real time, from the visiting dugout, the Arizona Diamondbacks manager had been watching his pitcher work through the inning when something in his peripheral vision pulled his attention to the Dodgers' side. He couldn't hear anything. He couldn't see the details clearly from that distance. But he could see the shape of the moment. Could see Ohtani near the dugout steps. Could see the small figure of the ball boy. Could see the exchange of smiles. And something about it stopped him. Later, at the post-game press conference, a reporter asked Lovullo about the viral moment that was already spreading across social media. About what Ohtani had done when he thought no one was watching. Lovullo was quiet for longer than usual before answering. He wasn't collecting his thoughts. He already had them. He was deciding how honest to be about what the moment had meant to him personally. He decided to be very honest. "I saw it happen from our dugout," he began. His voice was different from his usual post-game cadence. Lower. More personal. "And I want to be clear that I was watching the pitcher at the time. But something made me look over." He paused. "And I saw Shohei with that kid. And I couldn't hear anything. I couldn't see the details. But I could see what it was. I could see that there was a young person who was embarrassed and a famous person who didn't have to do anything and chose to do something anyway." Another pause. Longer this time. "And I thought about all the young players in my own dugout. All the kids coming up through the system who are watching how the best players in the game carry themselves. Not on the field. Off it. In the margins. In the moments nobody is supposed to notice." His voice dropped slightly. "And I thought, that right there, that 15 seconds on the dugout steps, that teaches more than any coaching session I've ever run." The room was very quiet. Lovullo reached for his water. Set it back down without drinking. "I've competed against a lot of great players," he continued. "Players with enormous talent and enormous reputations. And talent is easy to respect. Talent you can measure. Talent shows up in the box score." He shook his head. "But what I saw tonight from that dugout wasn't talent. It was character. And character doesn't show up anywhere except in the moments when nobody's watching." He looked directly at the assembled reporters. "Except someone was watching tonight. And I'm glad they were. Because people needed to see that." The video spread with the particular speed reserved for moments that touch something universal. Not just baseball fans. Not just sports fans. People who had never watched a full inning of baseball in their lives were sharing it with captions that didn't need to explain who Shohei Ohtani was because the moment explained itself. A 15-second interaction between the most famous baseball player on earth and a 12-year-old ball boy who dropped a ball. Players across MLB saw it and responded in ways that were unusually sincere for professional athletes navigating public platforms. A veteran catcher with 17 years of major league experience posted simply, "This is why he's different. Not the home runs. This." A young outfielder who had recently been called up to his first major league roster wrote something longer. More personal. About what it meant to be young and nervous and feeling invisible in the enormous machinery of professional baseball. About how much a single moment of acknowledgement from someone established could mean when you were still trying to figure out if you belonged. "I was that ball boy once," he wrote. "Not literally. But I know exactly what that kid felt when Ohtani smiled at him. I know what it means when someone that great sees you. Really sees you. When you think you're invisible and you find out you're not. It changes something in you that never quite changes back." The post received more engagement than anything he had ever shared about his own career. Inside the Dodgers clubhouse after the game, the atmosphere was warm with the particular satisfaction of a team that had competed well and knew it. Ohtani moved through his post-game routine with the quiet efficiency that had become his signature. Unhurried. Focused. Completely unbothered by the noise that surrounded him at all times. A reporter approached carefully. "Shohei, there's a video going around. of you and the ball boy during the game. It's gotten a significant reaction. Can you speak to what happened there?" Ohtani looked up from what he was doing. A brief expression crossed his face that was difficult to categorize. Not discomfort exactly. More like the mild surprise of someone who has done something private and discovered it wasn't as private as they thought. "He dropped the ball," Ohtani said simply. "He was embarrassed. I didn't want him to feel bad." "That's it?" the reporter followed up. Ohtani considered the question as if he was genuinely confused by its premise. What else would there be? The reporter tried a different angle. Torey Lovullo spoke about it in his press conference. He said it showed more character than anything he sees on the field. "How does that make you feel?" Ohtani was quiet for a moment. Something shifted very slightly in his expression. "Torey is a good manager," he said finally. "And a good person. I have a lot of respect for him." He paused. "But I didn't do anything special. There was a kid who needed a second. I gave him a second. That's not character. That's just being a person." He returned to what he was doing. The reporter stood there for a moment, holding a response that felt simultaneously humble and profound and completely inadequate to contain what had actually happened. The ball boy's name was never released. His parents declined the media requests that came in the 48 hours following the video going viral. They released a single brief statement through the team. "Our son came home from the game and didn't say much about what happened. He just said that Shohei Ohtani smiled at him when he made a mistake. And that it made him feel like everything was going to be okay. We think that's enough." Torey Lovullo ended his press conference that night with something nobody expected. Something unplanned. Something that surprised even the reporters who had covered him for years. He was wrapping up his answers, preparing to leave, when he stopped himself. "One more thing," he said. "And this isn't about the game." He looked at the table for a moment. "I've been in baseball my whole life. And the thing about this game is that it gives you moments. Big moments that everyone sees. And small moments that almost nobody sees." He looked up. "Tonight we almost missed one of the small ones." He stood up slowly. "I'm glad we didn't." And he walked out of the room carrying something that had nothing to do with wins or losses or standings or statistics. He walked out carrying the reminder that the greatest things in baseball happen when the cameras aren't supposed to be watching. When a man thinks no one can see him. And chooses to be exactly who he is anyway.